Alright, so tying on strings. So first off, this is a piece of thick paper, cardstock, just with a slot cut in it that fits nicely around the bridge here. Just a great way to protect your soundboard. We're starting here at the bridge. I always work from the outside in with strings, 6th string, 1st string, then 5th, 2nd, etc. This just makes it easier on the headstock end. So we're going to start with the 6th string. So this is a 12-hole bridge, meaning that there are 2 holes for every string. Sitting this way with the bass side towards me, I'm going to put the string first through from the sound hole edge on the closest hole to me. So there's 2 holes here for the 6th string. We're putting it through the first hole here on the bass side, I suppose. And I always use on a lot of strings there's an end that has like a softer end with some looser windings for these bass strings. That's a good end to use on the tie block here. It just makes tying a bit easier. As it can be a bit finicky on the 6th string here, but you can fish it through. And then that's it. So it's straight through that first hole. Then come back around again to the sound hole side. And we're going to go through the 2nd hole. Alright, so then the last thing you need to do is just, when you're pulling it tight, pull down that end that you just poked through, and then pull the long end here that we haven't done anything with yet, so that you can see that it's holding the end down. So bass strings are a little bit more simple than treble strings, because treble strings tend to slip. So when we're attaching a treble string, we just have to take care to prevent it from slipping. So first thing, again, we're going to put it through the bass side of the 2 holes, right? So this is the second last hole in this 12-hole bridge for the 1st string. Again, from the sound hole side through to the end, pull it through a little bit, and I always give myself a little extra on a treble string because, again, they're slippy. Then, again, put it through from the same side again, right? So we're getting a nice loop. And again, tuck it so that then it's going to come under here. But rather than just having it come through the loop once, you're going to then wrap it around and tuck it under itself. And this just little loop here, that's all it needs to be secure. Some people like to be extra secure and tie a little knot in the end of the string, or you can use a lighter to melt the end to make it a little bit thicker. I've never had a problem just doing this one little loop here. But if you're wanting a little bit more security, you can do something with the end to prevent it from slipping through. Now we're coming around to the headstock end, again bass side towards me in this picture here. So we'll start with the 6th string again, so we're pulling it from the bridge just to the end here, and of course it goes into the 6th string hole, which is this one. It's always a good idea to kind of have that hole facing up to you so you can turn the peg until it's there. It just makes it easier. So there's many ways to tie them here. This is the way I like to do it. It's simple. It keeps the strings in place. You don't have to worry about them slipping. So straight down through that hole. Pull it fairly tight. Like, you really don't need to leave a whole lot of slack on the string. Nylon strings really tighten up a lot on their own. They stretch a lot, so there's no need to have excessive numbers of wraps around here. So I've put it through that hole. Then I'm going to come up the headstock side. You can see I'm poking this one through here. And all I'm going to do is loop it underneath this string here. This is where it locks it into place. So I pull it under and back around. So I end up with a little loop here. Hopefully you can see this if I zoom in a little bit. So then all I need to do is I'm going to grab my string winder here, tighten the string, and you'll see how it kind of just locks it into place. So pretty simple there. Exactly the same thing with the nylon strings at this end. You don't need to worry about any extra knotting on the treble strings. I really don't recommend putting the string through the hole more than once, especially if you have plastic rollers. These are aluminum rollers, so they can withstand quite a lot of force, but plastic rollers will crack over time if you put a string through the hole if you make the too much congestion in the hole, you might say. So again, straight down through, pull it fairly tight, and especially on these nylon strings, really don't leave a lot of extra looseness. Then poke it up the other side of the roller, and then tuck it underneath the string. It doesn't really matter which direction you tuck it under, it's just a matter of looping it around that string. Again, tighten it up, and then use your string winder to wind it. The only thing you need to worry about maybe with these nylon strings is to ensure that your loop that you made around the string, when you poked it back up and put it back through, make sure that it's pulled tight, because if you see on your rollers, there's kind of a beveled edge to these holes. You probably can't make it out on the camera here, but you want the string to kind of lock into that place. Otherwise, there's a really good chance it's going to slip. So just make sure it's locked in place, and then it'll be just fine. And again, give it a bit of a tighten. One of the main reasons you don't want too many extra winds on here, if you can prevent that, is that your strings are going to stay better in tune if there's less string length being stretched. So the fewer number of windings that you can put on the rollers, the better. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the strings on. As I said before, I'm working from the outside in, so the next string to go on is string 5 of the A. So through the base side hole, pull it through the second hole. If you can find it, sometimes it's a pain. And then just make sure that it's getting caught by the string when you pull it through. So again, nylon string here, so we need to watch that it catches a little bit better. Bass side, treble side, underneath and around again, so you get a little loop. Pull it tight, and then we go up to the headstock end. Finally, let's do the 4th and 3rd strings at this end, and then I'll move to the headstock. Bass side, treble side, tuck it so it's caught, that's it, and the last string here. Again, it's a nylon string, so we're going to loop it a second time under. Just make sure that it's caught nice and secure. And all of these will tighten once you get past, and of course they're a bit of a pain now. So, headstock end. Again, working from the outside in, and this is where it matters more, so I'm just going to make sure that I can see the hole at the top here. So I'm on the 5th string, down through that hole, up the back end, around, just so it catches. And then, so this is where you want it to kind of catch in there. Less of an issue with the wound strings because they have a lot of grip. So again, just tightening that there. And I'll just do the 4th string while I'm here. The 4th string on a lot of guitars you want to be a bit more careful with when you're winding, because it has a tendency to buzz sometimes against the center here. So when you're winding it, you just want to make sure that it's pulling away from the center part of your headstock. So starting with the same thing here, and tucking it under, back down the other side. And now as I'm winding this one, I'm just going to make sure that the winds move towards the outside of the headstock. And that just takes a bit of guidance with the finger. So you see here how it wants to go on the inside. I'm just going to pull it over so then it winds on the other side. Of course, here we got to just make sure it lines up into our into the groove for it in the nut. And again, as it's coming around again, just making sure it's coming to the outside here, and this just stops it from buzzing against the center part of your headstock. Some guitars you don't have this issue, but it is something to be aware of because it's quite common. So then our treble strings, second string here, down through, up, and then loop it around. And this is where you want to make sure that it's going to catch in that little crevice there, the little hole. So putting some kind of downward pressure as you're winding is good. So just tuck it back down and kind of pull down on it. And we'll go to the last string here, making sure at the other end it stays where I want it to be. Down through the hole, up the headstock end of it, loop it underneath the string, and then pull it back. And I always, with this treble string, I normally tuck it down again so I can pull on it. And then use my string winder to lock it into place, making sure it goes in the groove where it should be here. Alright. So then we just need to bring it up to tune, and I would leave the long ends on for a day. Sometimes I leave them on longer because I just am too lazy to cut them off. But when you do want to cut them off, again, leave them on for a day just in case the strings slip. And then you can use wire cutters to clip them off at about 1 centimeter long here, maybe slightly shorter. And same thing on the other end. Basically, you just don't want strings touching the soundboard because they can cause awful buzzing. And you can use wire cutters, as I said, or you can use nail clippers. Nail clippers are actually fantastic for this, just small enough to get in there. Just be careful you don't, cut the string that you want to keep on the guitar. And that's it.